Throughout the spring 2018 semester, our team worked with Principal Financial Group in order to document their capital allocation process, which they complete through corporate transfers. Upon assignment of this project, the team learned that capital is required to support the organic growth of these business units. This process currently lacks visibility, which led to a misunderstanding of the balance sheet. This lack of understanding results in suboptimal capital management decisions, wasted labor hours, inefficient process design, as well as inaccuracies between their forecasted and actual values. Without clear documentation, the company is unable to understand its current state, as very few employees currently understand this process. It also creates a lack in standardization amongst the business units. After understanding the basis of these issues, our team identified the following objectives. The first objective was to analyze and document the transfer process and produce process maps outlining the reporting, forecasting, attribution, and capital movement. Our second objective was to make these process maps available for employee reference within a site called Confluence. Our third objective was to utilize the current state process maps as a tool to identify the inefficiencies, inconsistencies, data flow, and data availability issues. Our last objective was to develop and recommend a process design structure to best improve and solve these problems identified.
Through qualitative interviews with the business units, the team produced approximately 50 process maps documenting the current process. Once the maps were finalized, they were uploaded into Confluence, and the next phase of the project began, which was identifying improvement areas to the current corporate transfer process. To best identify improvement areas, the team created an ideal state map. This highlighted what the corporate transfer process would look like in a perfect world. This map was then compared to the current state maps to see what enhancements could be made to bring the ideal state map as close to the current map as possible. One of the key improvement areas identified was the statutory close process. Since statutory books take longer to close than GAAP books, Principal is forced to produce a forecast without final numbers. This produces inaccurate calculations and an off-target risk-based capital. The second issue identified is the inefficiencies produced in utilizing series notes in the corporate transfer process. The elimination of series notes will give the business units more responsibility in managing their own capital. These enhancements will create a better understanding of the company's balance sheet and capital position. In addition, series note elimination will reduce the number of labor hours spent on the process.
The two design improvements identified will not only better the process, but will also provide significant financial impact. The first financial impact comes from the elimination of the series notes and the reduction of labor hours seen from this. Each quarter, Principal spends approximately 2,040 hours on the series calculations. Taking into consideration the average salary of the employees working on this part of the process and the number of hours seen from the reduction, the team determined that Principal could save approximately $816,000. The second and more significant financial impact comes from the adjustments recommended to be made to the statutory close process. The team identified two possible ways to adjust the close process to match the necessary timing constraints. Option 1 was allowing the GAAP books to be reopened on business day 12 so that final statutory entries could be made. Option 2 was to accelerate the statutory close process to more align with the GAAP close process to end on business day 8. Either option would help Principal more accurately estimate their risk-based capital. Each quarter, Principal overestimates their RBC by approximately $100 million. The RBC miss is a huge opportunity cost, as Principal could be deploying this excess $100 million towards new investments to generate a return.
Considering the extent of the current process and the significance of the designs recommended, the team will not be involved in the implementation process, and the project will be handed off to Principal employees for continuation. If Principal chooses to implement either the design recommendations, the projected timeline will be approximately 3 years for the design to be completely integrated. To assist Principal in moving forward, the team helped identify potential resistant areas to this implementation, as well as how to best combat any of these issues. In the final weeks of the course, the team gave a presentation to senior management to help generate buy-in for the new design recommendations, as well as outline the next steps of the process.